what insulated me was our socioeconomic status, without a doubt. And well, maybe that I grew up in a diverse neighborhood, but like I, throughout my childhood, was frequently outside of like actual elementary school. Me and my sister and my brother were frequently the only Black kids anywhere because our parents always had us in activities that other people who looked like us basically just couldn't afford. And but because we had the status, I don't remember racism growing up. But as you said, it was kind of like when I got to college, first of all, I didn't expect there to be Black people there because there wasn't Black people anywhere else. So like but there was like a group of just people of color, not just Black people, but other people of color as well, who were also queer, which was a big deal for me. And my family was very supportive of me. I was very open with them. I did not feel there was no kind of ostracizing. There was no ousting. I had a good, it was fine. It was good. And being able to experience community in the way that I did in college was really liberating in a way that I didn't know I needed, in a way that I did not expect. I don't think it was any surprise to my parents because, of course, they've been to college. They know how liberating college can be just for anybody, because college is a place where we are finding ourselves and where we're finding out that we're not the only ones who, whatever. And so, yeah, college was really just an interesting time for me.
Yeah.
And I wound up graduating. I transferred back down to a school in Seattle. Um, Graduated, went to law school, studied race and law and poverty. And, now that's what I focus on in my practice.
Very nice. And we need you. Oh my goodness, do we need you? It's funny how many similarities your story has to mine, actually. I also went to law school, was one of the founding members of the Youth Advocacy Law Association there, trying to raise the age for criminal culpability in the state of New York, where I went to law school. And yeah, just like trying to help where I can, right? And just try to make sure that for me it was really all about, and it still is about, trying to make sure that Black youth don't have to go through the same experiences that I went through, because they were damaging, and they unnecessarily so. And I don't want people to walk through the world as we did, which is unaware of some of this stuff. And I find myself, I was just like you. I didn't recognize that I was experiencing any kind of racism. I did see reflections of racism, but like,
Right.
I didn't really know how to, even though I had a lot of education, actually, I would say, about the civil rights movement, about Dr. King, about race relations in the past. I was always told that these things were a thing of the past.
Mm,
Yeah, I was taught that these things were over. But then I would see these reflections that clearly showed that wasn't the case. So I was mostly just, and I say this in my poem that I wrote, I was perplexed a lot about what I was seeing around the world, but I didn't really know what to do with, that dissonance.
or even what to call it. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I'm just like so feeling what you're saying around this gaslighting of this was the past. Racism is behind us. Um, and like white culture, dominant culture wants us to believe that. And I had a conversation with a mentor yesterday that was like, if I'm a white body, if I'm a person who is white, then I have to think that way. Otherwise, how do I live with myself? And like the guilt, the trauma that they have inherent in them from their generations of however they contributed to the dominant class. Not saying everybody's related to a slave owner, but like however they contributed and were complicit or, whatever. Um, yeah, it has to be in the past. It has to live, that has to be the narrative say it's behind us or say it never happened, it didn't exist, or we're exaggerating or whatever, because dealing with the reality and the truth of like the past and today is crushing.
It is crushing. I mean, and it was crushing for me as a racialized black man to recognize the level of racism that I was actually facing and the toxicity in our racial environment that I was going to have to face in the future. That wasn't easy either, but, of course, on my end, it's directly tied to my survival and my success. So, we are kind of forced down that road, just to be able to exist in the country that we live in. But on racialized white people's end, yes, it's much more complicated for them because they are not only trained and encouraged from a young age to deny the impact of racism, to not talk about race or racism, to believe it can't have the impact that people of color talk about and whatnot. But if they do manage to gain some insight into that, they don't really have a lot of allies either. If they do choose to embrace anti-racism, a lot of racialized black people will look down on that, actually, will not embrace them as someone who could be an ally. And definitely the system of white supremacy is not going to embrace their choice either. So it's very, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place as well. Although I would say that they have a little more freedom to choose in some ways. Like,